No one in this world can you trust. Not men, not women, not beasts. This you can trust.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Glory of Golden State Gaming. I'm your host, Swamp Swimmer, and with me, as always, the Will Smith to my Chris Rock, Vespacian.
Oh,
Too soon? Too soon?
What would the five fingers say to the face? Oh man, hi everybody.
Sorry, I couldn't help doing that reference. But for our little off topic, this is a request from the comments. Everyone seems to like our little blurbs about tactics in different areas of the game, but short little, just talk about one little segment of the game. And so let's talk about bounce spells. I don't know how often you kind of mix in the rotation of bounce spells into your magic phase, but I do it pretty consistently with the Beast Herd totems. I usually, when I cast a bounce spell, they're usually the first spells I cast because they draw out dice, and also they draw out the new crystal ball. I love people wasting their crystal ball +2 to dispel on a bounce spell. That usually how it goes, and also with the beast herds I can double up on the bounce spell, so I can go bounce spell, and then throw the rest of my dice at a spell I really want. And that works pretty consistently. The downside is when I get down to I really need one bounce spell to go off and my opponent knows it, it's easy for them to dispel, obviously, because they can target it out. I mean, it helps with beast herds so I can double up on spells.
Yeah.
But that's my usual tactics for bounce spells. What about you?
Yeah, so I have to caveat by saying I don't use them that often. Highborn Elves don't have access to any of them outside of the BRB. And I did use Van Braces in this tournament, actually. Wanted to kind of try it out. Was playing with Druidism, so felt like it would be a nice way to supplement the magic phase. It was okay. I mean, I think that as far as tactics wise, I think that the Beast Herds has probably the most interesting bounce spell phase, right? Because you can double on it. They're pretty impactful. So yeah, I think your strategy makes a ton of sense, especially when you can double up on them, and that way it's not easy to to prioritize. The other example is the Dwarven Holds, and that one I find really troublesome to go against, because essentially you pick one spell you don't want and you just let the rest of them wash over you, right? So,
So for tactics,
for
tactics against Dwarven Holds, do you go for when they throw 2 dice at a bounce spell, which is a 5? Do you try to go dice for dice and go roll 2 dice at the 5, or do you try to go? You let more through, but you throw 1 additional dice to make sure it goes away?
I think it depends a lot on how many dice I have, what the applicable situation is, right? If something is going to take me from wounding on a 5 to a 6, right, then I really just can't afford for that -1 to wound to go off, right? Basically I'd be willing to let anything else go off, right? So in that sort of rare case, I might just throw 3 at each, but then you've got the obvious counterplay that they can put 3 on each, right? So I feel like you can kind of structure the phase as the bound caster in a pretty consistent way, but I think in responding, if it doesn't really matter and I'm just trying to be efficient and dispel as much as possible, then I just do it dice for dice. I think it ends up being like an 80+% likelihood you dispel each spell, which is, some phases you stop them all, which is nice.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking also bounce spells are also helpful for me when I draw a low card out of the cards of Magic. When you draw that low card, you draw the 1 or the 2, and the difference in dice is still detrimental because you don't have that much more dice than your opponent, but the limited number of actual dice that you both are getting it helps because then you could load up and do 3/3 on a bounce spell, and you might get that one specific bounce spell you need off. So I like that. I think that's kind of a cool caveat to bounce spells, is that they assist you when you're doubling up on bounce spells. They assist you in the low cards, which is interesting.
Yeah, correct. I think that's a really good observation for sure.
But let's get into the battle report. Let's see here. We are in round 2, your round 2 of March to War. You got a big win in round 1, and then in round 2, you get paired into our good friend Henry on the Kingdom of Equitaine, which is a little scary. He's a good player, and KOE is a strong book. And right now, this was pre the most recent balance patch to KOE, and it was
it got rid of the Duke Nukem, the D3 wounds. Divine Judgment, I think, was gone, but yeah, it's not the most recent update. I think.
And it was breakthrough and counter thrust. Let's see here. If you're interested in Vespacian's list, please click the link right above my head. It is the round 1 video where we go into a little depth into his list. Or click the link in the description below, which is a podcast from our friends in the Pacific Northwest called Mid-Table Menaces, where they go over a full list review. But let's look at Henry's list. Let's see here. Let's see. He's got the Lord on the Hippogriff with the good old Divine Judgment. I don't even know what all this stuff does, but he hits really hard.
Yep.
And he's got the Crown of the Wizard King, which is interesting. I think that's unique.
Yep.
He's got a Damsel Adept Shamanism flying on the horse. He's got a Folk Hero with Quinn. I don't know what Quinn is.
Quinn is the witchcraft or divination.
And that makes him an adept. Yeah. He's got 12 feudal knights with banner discipline, 30 lowborn archers with longbows, 30 longbow archers with lowborn archers with longbow, 9 knights of the quest, which are brutal, 2x8 hedge knights, a treb, 9 knights of the quest again, brutal, and a friar's lantern, which is pretty unique. I don't see that very often, but I know Henry loves the friar's lantern.
Yeah.
It's a good list. It's just it hits hard. It's got plenty of shooting. It's got 3 big blocks of knights with 1, 2, 3, yeah, and then 2 kind of small blocks, the 8 hedge knights, and a treb. I think it's a solid list. What did you think going into this?
I think I sent you my.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah. So a few things. I think that I put this as an Orim, so I think not a great match. He has a ton of ranged output. Those expert bowmen are great against all of my archers and my small cavalry units. He has a treb, which is terrible for my big bow unit. So that was definitely a problem there. One thing that I wanted to try to take advantage of was the fact that he has no BSB. So if I can force some, fear, break checks and things like that, I do think I have a leg up there. What I wanted to try to do, I don't think that I can win a head-to-head matchup. So what I was hoping I could do was to try to, make some smart trades to pin his advance, and then just try to go for the mission and pick up points where possible. So I think kind of best case scenario, this is like a small win to me, just based on the lists and the book and the mission. So
I agree with that.
Yep.
I agree with that. Let's see here. This is marked as deployment.
Yeah, so counter thrust. I won the roll for sides, and he got to drop first. So he dropped his hedge knights there, kind of right in the center. And then we alternated drop for drop. I'm pretty sure that I dropped my unit of the Heath Riders, the scoring one, out of frame on the right. First, the Great Eagle, and then probably the other, like the other Heath Hunter or something, sort of throwaway. And then he dropped everything. And so I can give you kind of his left to right. He's got the other unit of hedge knights. He's got the 2 units of questing knights. The one on the right that has the extra guy in the back is the one with the damsel. And then he's got the Conga hedge knights there that he dropped first. The 2 units of archers behind one, you can kind of barely see it as the Treb. And then the big Duke that he calls the chicken, and the 12 feudals over there. So
first, let's point out how awesome his models are. We'll probably have some better pictures, but they're all halflings. The questing knights are on walruses. The other knights are on, I think, little rams, like goats or something. Freaking awesome army.
Yeah. Oh, and there's the Friar's Lantern behind the hill. Sorry, I forgot about that. It's a gorgeous army, and he's obviously put a lot of love and thought into it. So I had not committed with any of my drops, and when he dropped everything, and I was kind of given a tough choice here. On the one side, by consolidating all of his shooting in one place, I could use the hill to basically make his shooting just like a non-factor in the game, which I think would help a lot. The other option is he's got all of his heat, right? The questing knights, all on the left-hand side. And so the other option would have been to sort of counter deploy the opposite direction and just have to weather the shooting and use the extra time that the questings take to get across the board to pressure him. Ultimately, you can see I decided to drop to the left, and there was a couple of reasons for that. So one is I felt like being over on the right-hand side, giving the quest the opportunity to get up on the hill and threaten long-range removal charges was a mistake. And the other was I have that, you can kind of see it, there's a fence that's sort of like over my thicket base in the middle there.
Yeah.
And so I like that defensive position because I actually think that even though he marked the thickets, if I can get into a one-on-one fight with a unit and have distracting with my buffs and heals and stuff, I thought that maybe I could pin one of the questing knight units against that fence. So what I have is I've got Heath Hunters, Sentinels, the big archer unit with the druid in it, another Heath Hunter unit up central, the thickets sort of in a position where they can back up and man the wall, the Pathfinder sort of center back there, the Avatar, the other Sentinels, and then the Treefather Ancient and the Eagles in the back, and then as mentioned, the other Heath Hunter unit out of frame. So, I was basically hoping that I could pin him on the left, get my Heath Hunter units around the flank, and try to push or win objective, and essentially just do everything I could to delay the advance of the feudal knights and the chicken, as he calls it, on the right.
Yeah, I think he's got fast-moving stuff on both sides, but you're right. Since the hill's kind of off-center to the left, it would give the knights a great place to perch on to charge at you. So I think this is the right move, and you're just taking his shooting out of the game, which is really nice.
Yeah, they have no targets, which is great.
All right, let's move on here. This is bottom one movement.
Okay, so you can kind of get a picture of what happened here. So he moves up sort of full court press on over there. Yep, and essentially he's just acknowledging that Heath Hunter unit on the right is going to get into the objective, right? Yeah, so they park behind that building and they'll live there the whole game. We can stop talking about it. And then on the left, he gives me an interesting. He kind of pushes up with his hedge knights on the left hand side, giving me a pretty easy charge with my Heath Hunters. And looking back, I think the math was a little dicier than I thought, but I took that charge and made it. It was an easy one. Mm-hmm. He did Raven's Wing the Friar's Lantern up to basically cause a march check bomb on my army. Yeah. And because my BSB was there, I just didn't really worry about that too much. I was focused on stopping effigy because I really wanted to be able to shoot, obviously. And then he got Spectral Blades, which will be important later on the Wizard Crown. Okay. So then the worst case scenario happens because I've got this Heath Hunter unit that you can see the 3 guys left after getting hit by Ravenswing. I got that Heath Hunter unit in an amazing spot to just march straight forward and chaff both Questing Knight units, and then of course they fail the re-rollable 8 leadership check and march. That's, I don't think that was really like that big of a misplay on my part, just bad luck. I passed every single other march check. That was kind of obnoxious. That was the one that I wanted. But basically what I did was I positioned it so that both questing units couldn't go into the thickets, who had backed up to man the wall, right? Yep. The other thing I do that is a little hard to see here, but if you zoom in behind the hill, so that's actually, that little model sitting out there by itself behind the hill is his Quinn, his witchcraft caster. He had to move him up in order to get range for Ravenswing on the lantern. Gotcha. And I saw a huge opportunity here, right? That magic phase, shamanism and witchcraft is brutal for my shooting over the long arc of the game. And I was able to move the sentinels out. You can see them behind the Heath Hunters to the left and target that Quinn behind the Heath Hunters, and target that Quinn, and also put my my avatar up out of arc of one of the questing knight units and the chicken and the hedge knights and within strangling roots range of the Quinn. Oh, right? Okay. So I was pretty excited about the opportunity to kind of just gut his magic phase early, and I felt like, I mean, it would have been amazing if I'd been able to chaff those 2 questing knight units, but I still felt this was a worthwhile trade. So and the avatar's within BSB range, so I'll take the 9 stubborn checks all day if he decides to charge me with the archers. So this was a pretty important turn, I felt. What happens is I do win. The math works out in my favor on the left with the Heath Hunters, and I destroy and run down the hedge knights, which I think is a big win on. I also kill the Quinn, which was also big, but really pretty easy to do given the amount of force I had against it. Yeah. What doesn't go very well is 25 archers, 9 pathfinders, and 8 sentinels, all shooting into a unit of questing knights. Mm-hmm. Only kills 3. And that ended up being an important part of the game. I'll talk about it a little bit later, but I think I should do better than that. And anyways, long story short, it was a bad phase there. So then we can go on to the next one.
Well, yeah, because you're wounding on 4s. He's gonna have a 3-up armor save?
No, it's 5s because he's res 4 for reasons, and so it's 25 shots on 4s and 5s, and then 20 and then 9 shots on.
But he's got what's his armor save?
And 5s. He's 2-up, 6-up.
Okay, well, yeah.
And then the sentinels poison, right? I mean, I think that what happens is I should probably do about like 9 or 10 wounds, some of them on AP3, some of them on AP1. Mm-hmm. And I was just, I was hoping to do a little bit more with that amount of shooting. Yeah. Anyways.
So this is marked
but I can't complain because I got the Quinn and the hedge knights.
So this is the result of all that, yeah.
Yeah, correct. There you go.
Okay, let's move on.
I guess I did 1 wound to the Friar's Lantern for some reason with something. I don't know. Maybe the strangle roots with the tree or something. Anyways, yeah.
All right, this is top of 2 mid combat.
Yeah. So if you go back to the last one, just quickly, so those questing knights up at the top need I think it's a 10 or maybe an 11 into the Treekin, and then the hedge knights over on the right need an 11. And he makes them both into the Treekin, which is a little bit of a shame. I mean, it would have been great if he failed 1, but it is what it is. They're Swift Stride. So now, if you can take us back, He also charges we ended up removing the hill just because it was like it was too difficult to balance everything on it.
Yeah.
So just remember that hill is right underneath that avatar.
Yeah.
So he charges in with the archers as well. And we talked about this afterwards. I actually think that's a massive mistake because he's committing to having to take a bunch of leadership 8 no reroll checks for like the rest of the game. And if he fails in a key point where I can pivot and charge in my following turn, that's the game, right? I take that questing unit off with the shaman, or I hit the killer duke.
Yeah,
right, with a charge.
I think if you get the charge on the duke, you'll take him out.
Yeah, I think that was a risky play by him. The other one that I was disappointed in is those questing knights. They charge my sentinels on the upper left there. You can see.
Yeah.
And with a close range stand and shoot, and then all of my, because they have Sylvan blades, and then with all of my attacks in combat, I managed to do 0 wounds against those questing knights, which is just a bummer. I probably hindsight 2020, I probably should have just fled, and he was out of range for really anything else, so it would have been. I basically just would have tied him up.
You would have sacrificed the unit to slow him down for a turn. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe, but what I was hoping was with if I could take off a couple of questing knights with those shots and attacks, then that unit starts to become a lot more manageable, right? So I basically was felt like it was worth it, but didn't end up paying off. I did get a little lucky in that he failed 3 Aegis saves of DTs with the Hedge Knights going into my flank on the tree camp. So that was nice. And then let me see here. Do you mind showing me what we got for the next picture?
This is top of 2, end of combat.
Yeah. Okay. So he goes in, and this is the point where I realize that the questing knights, when they mark a unit, any character joined to that unit also is marked.
Yeah.
Which I did not know.
Yeah.
I should have known, but I did not, because my thinking was he can bang on that BSB all day long with no rerolls and no combat buffs anymore. I'm like, okay, that should be fine, but he gets the rerolls. So he goes in, he puts everything he can into the BSB, does 3 wounds, so it's still alive.
Yeah.
I go back, I focus on the Hedge Knights with what I can. You can see that I completely fail despite 4s by 3s and a 4-up save. I've completely failed to do any wounds to the questing knights, which I think is pretty bad luck. And then he takes off a base. So disappointed. I mean, I hold obviously on the rerollable 9. And then in the up above, the Tree Father wallops on the bowman. They proceed to fail every single fear check for the duration of that combat, but never any of the break checks, which is a shame. So spoiler alert. But other than that, he cleans up the sentinels on the left and reforms with the questers, and he just does a big advance with the feudals and the chicken, and that is about. And he's turned the other bow unit to shoot at my to try to prevent me from getting into his scoring on the left hand side.
Yeah, with
my 2 little units. Yeah. And the trebuchet misfires 1 at the start of the game and can't fire for the rest of the game, so it does nothing for the whole game.
God.
Yeah. So then we've got, what's next?
So this is bottom of 2 movement.
Yeah, bottom of 2. So my reaction, basically, I put up the eagle to chaff the quest because I can't have him getting into my archers. Mm-hmm. I bring it's a little hard to see, but I bring the depleted unit of Heath Hunters into the flank of his archers.
Oh, I see.
Basically, just trying to accelerate how long it takes for the avatar to get through.
Yep.
and I bring everything like back around and kind of switch up into the corner to maximize the charges for the feudals and the chicken. So that was basically it. These guys are apparently, sainted or lucky or something like that, because my entire shooting phase into that questing knight unit that's depleted does, I think, nothing again, if I recall correctly. Which is just
that armor and the Aegis save together. It's tough if his dice are on,
Yeah, I mean the res 4 and the armor is just anyways, strength 3 shooting, but yeah, so there's that. Basically for the rest of the game he prioritizes stopping my druidism spells, which totally makes sense, and I also kind of roll a bit crap, so I think I get stars align up on the or scrying or something like that every turn on the thickets, but he's stopping me getting the heals, which makes a ton of sense. And then in this turn, he manages to kill the BSB, if I recall correctly, but just doesn't do great, like rolls kind of bad, and I end up like losing but sticking, essentially.
Losing the BSB, but staying there, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is the turn I finish off that Hedge Knight unit, which is fine.
Let's see the next pick. Hold on.
Yeah.
This is top of 3. Whoa!
Yeah, okay. So maybe I'm just misremembering it. I feel like, so one of the problems with having such a big combat start, like top of 2, was the game went pretty slow as a result of that. So maybe I'm just misremembering the timing, but I guess one way or the other, he breaks through the thickets, and he gets with a flank charge by the Duke. That was what ultimately did it.
Gotcha.
You can see I did manage to get a few wounds through on those quests, and he overruns. He pursues, catches the thickets, and overruns into my other treeman. The other thing you can see is that he's put his other bowman unit into the flank of my Heath Hunters up there.
Yep, I see him right there.
Which was a funny one. So he goes into my Tree Father. He fails a long bomb charge with the feudals into something like the Sentinels or something like that, and so the feudals just sit there. I get let me see. Oh, and he pops the Friar's Lantern, just continuing to kind of like try to screw me up.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that's about it. I think we've got two more pictures, I believe.
No, that's it.
Sorry. Okay, so then I think we managed to get through turn 5. A couple of big swings happen. So let's kind of go left to right. My Heath Hunters in the upper left just score the objective, right? So I've got 2 in the objective,
2, yeah.
right? Yeah. And then with the Avatar combat, my Avatar manages to ultimately grind down and break both. He wipes out one unit and breaks the other one and takes it off. And
you pursue. You pursue.
I do in that case, because it was in my turn, so there just wasn't anything useful for me to do to pivot and charge, right? So I do pursue, take them off, and that is so the Avatar basically gets the Quinn and those 2 bowman units for his trouble all game. On the left hand side, or sort of bottom left, the Pathfinders survive. Those quests do go into my archers. I've bailed the Druid out into the Pathfinders. They do go into my archers. He, with 6 knights, I'm 13 wide, right? So he needs to kill 9 to break my steadfast, right? Yeah. With 6 knights, he kills 9, which I think is like almost exactly up. Like he hit with everything, wounded with everything, and killed exactly 9 to break my steadfast. And so I fail, and crucially, I think he failed a restraint test and ran off the board with the quests.
Interesting.
and that was at the end of the game, so I think bottom of 5, which means that the quests were not scoring the objective at the end. So his feudals and other quests were, but those quests were not. So that ended up pushing the objective, right? So that was actually a big swing there. The other thing that happens at the very end, so I got lucky with that, so can't bellyache too much about other luck. And the other thing that happens was that he 5 dices Spectral Blades on his questing nights to try to get through the Tree Father Ancient. Right.
Yeah.
It's a lot of points, and he's not marked, so he goes for that, and he had taken a wound, I think, to DTs, or maybe the Treekin, and so he had 3 wounds left, and he gets the triple 5 or whatever it was to do the 4 AP 10 wounds.
The 4
fails,
yeah.
Fails all of his Aegis saves and kills himself.
Oh no, that's low odds.
So that's
too.
like,
wow.
It's really low odds. That's like 1,000-point swing, I think, or 900-point swing, which was really nice at the very end. And he also, with the quests, even with the boosted Spectral, doesn't manage to finish off the Tree Father Ancient, leaves it on 1 wound, so I get to preserve half points there. So
wow.
So that is the end of the game.
And it ends up being a 10-10.
I think we were like 20 to 50 points, victory points apart. So very close, obviously, with the big get on the chicken at the end there, and with the objective. So this was shaping up to be, not a great result for me. I think like a 5 probably, or something like that. But got a pretty big swing in the late game that brought it back to a 10-10.
Yeah, the chicken dying and the Grail Knights pursuing off the board. Man, if it had gone to turn 6, it would have been a different game for sure.
Yeah, for sure. That being said, would have been able to turn the Avatar around, right? And then the Avatar's got the questing unit or the chicken, in easy charge range, and he's on a hill, right?
Yeah,
so
true. Yeah.
It could have, I think if we'd had that one last turn, it could have been, whereas he has no way to threaten my scoring units, right? Yeah. So it could have swung, but it also could have swung back, honestly. So.
Yeah, I mean, how do you feel about your tactics or the turn 1 move? Do you feel like the Avatar didn't need to go up this far?
I liked being able to work on the Quinn, and to be honest with you, I don't know where the Avatar goes really, aside from just kind of like pulling back. I think my biggest mistake from this turn actually was probably I should have positioned the thickets further back, so that it was a further charge, because I could have still then moved up and taken the wall, right?
Yeah.
So I positioned myself to defend the wall for essentially no reason, when I could have just made it an impossible charge and then defended the wall the following turn, which would have slowed the whole process down by a turn, which would have given me, I think, what I needed, right?
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, it didn't. That was I think probably a big mistake that I made. Yeah, the Avatar play, I think you could debate, but I think getting that Quinn off early makes a big difference. It just changes his face, right?
Yeah.
When his druid, or when his shaman was in combat, I think he had taken Chilling Howl and Swarm of Insects, so basically only had 1 spell that he can cast that didn't matter much.
Yeah.
Once the Quinn is gone, right? So that was. I think it was a good risk reward. And also, if he'd failed like 1 of 3 8 non-reroll break checks, it's game, I think.
Yeah.
When the Avatar comes to the rear of those questing knights, well, they're locked up on the thickets, and that's dead, right? So I don't know. That was a tough one.
It's a good game. The tense game, it seems like. Every game with Henry is a tense game, but so
yeah. It was a good game, definitely. Good,
do you remember what you got round 1? I can't remember.
20.
20. Oh yeah, 20. So you're sitting on 30 after 2 games, which isn't a bad start at all. And we'll see where this goes. This is next up will be round 3 of March to War. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks,
please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.